Good Saturday afternoon, and welcome to this week's weekly weather briefing. It is October the 7th, 2017, and what we're going to first talk about is the remnants of Hurricane Nate moving into our direction, colliding with a cold front coming in from the west, and then, as always, your long range outlook and what the upcoming week could have in store for us. Right now, what you're seeing is the NAM 3KM model, and it shows the remnants of Hurricane Nate moving into northern Alabama, northern Georgia, southeastern Tennessee by the upcoming overnight hours. But what it also puts out is an outside feeder band that is going to be colliding with the rain coming in from the cold front, which is what you see right here. And then that cold front washes out as it collides with moisture coming up from Nate. So both of these collide right into a very narrow area of convergence along portions of the Pennyroyal area of western Kentucky, stretching back into portions of the Purchase area and into western and central Tennessee. If this occurs, then we could be looking at portions of maybe Callaway, Marshall, Graves back towards Fulton counties, picking up anywhere between 2 to 4 inches of rain tonight. But what I think is going to happen is this area of convergence, this very narrow band to watch, I think that it is instead going to be stationed a little bit further to the south and east of us, portions of maybe towards Bowling Green, back towards Paris, Tennessee, and towards Jackson, Tennessee. Maybe those areas have a better chance of seeing that sort of convergence than we do up here in the Purchase area. But nonetheless, no matter where it ends up forming tonight, it will eventually work its way northward and affect portions of the Purchase area by tomorrow morning with some rain and some storms. So we are not over and we are not out of the woods after the rain from this afternoon. So the remnants of Nate move off, and we see what the GFS thinks another cold front and another area of low pressure forming just to the north and west of us, and then would be bringing with it some clouds and maybe some raindrops for the middle of the week. Right now, I think that we're looking at nothing really organized as far as any rain is concerned, but rather maybe a few raindrops are possible around Wednesday or Thursday, and an increase in cloudiness as well. But nothing like we were seeing a couple of weeks ago where it was showing a big time cold front moving through, and then it was also showing almost frost and freeze like conditions occurring around midweek. Instead, that is completely wiped off of the map, and we are looking at above average temperatures to continue throughout the rest of this week and into next weekend. The GFS does form another area of low pressure, and that would move off towards our north, which would affect portions of our region with more continued above average temperatures and more continued warmth and a summer like feel to the air. And what that summertime feel to the air is coming from is mostly because we have these 250 millibar strong winds, really strong winds, coming in off of the western U.S. coast. And I am a strong believer that anytime right here along the U.S. West Coast that we see some rain coming in and we see an active pattern from this jet stream level, I do think that it always equals above average temperatures in the eastern portion of the United States. It usually puts a high pressure system here, and that jet stream likes to follow where these 250 millibar winds go, and that would form a jet stream like I just drew here. Usually puts a low pressure center here with cooler than normal temperatures, wetter than normal conditions in the western United States. So just about any time this happens, it happened a lot last winter, and you know last winter was warm, the number one warmest on record out of Paducah, and this is because of all of the 250 millibar strong winds coming in off of the western U.S. coast, and it all equaled above average temperatures in the east coast right here. So this is that I am a strong believer that that always ends up happening every time we see strong winds like that. And once we go over to the next map, you can tell that it's almost exactly where I drew it. That jet stream comes right under the trough over the ridge, and it always equals above average temperatures right in here and below average temperatures in the western U.S. coast. We go out a little bit further. This is coming in on Sunday. You can tell that continued very strong like feature showing us that the jet stream is getting stronger. It's getting more wild. So a lot of systems are going to be forming, even a low pressure system here, forming along this jet stream, and they're going to ride along it, bringing with it warm and above average temperatures into the eastern coast and then below average temperatures behind it. And that is all going to spell trouble for areas up here for severe weather. But for us, it just means more dry and warm and hot weather for us as we go into the rest of this upcoming weekend. So that is something to keep in mind. The ridge still holding its place, very strong like. And so, really, any cool that the models show over the next couple of weeks is going to be teasing you because as long as those 250 millibar winds remain strong and they move into the California coast, Oregon coast, and even the Washington coast, we're going to continue to see above average temperatures in the U.S. East Coast. I don't care what you say and what kind of feature that you have to show me. As long as the winds stay strong like they are now coming into the United States, then we are going to be looking at above average temperatures. And I mentioned before October started that we would be looking at a top 5 warmest October on record in the Paducah National Weather Service office. And I'm still believing it because anytime the models have been showing us lately any cold that is going to be possible, it ends up losing it and ends up going back to the warm idea. And I've seen that happen a lot of times. The models show cold and they continue to try and promote cold weather towards the end of their runs, towards like the day 16 time frame, and then the next run comes out and it's showing us record warmth, because that's just how fluctuative the models are at this time of the year. And they usually always go with the colder solutions because we're trying to transition to winter. But what ends up happening is we end up seeing a lot warmer solutions than what the models show at this time of the year, especially the GFS, a very volatile model when it comes to the change in the atmosphere at this time of the year. So right now, here's our temperatures over the next 16 days. You notice that we're looking at that above average and continued warmth over the next week, ending right here on Saturday. And like I said, just said right a second ago, any cold that it tries to show coming in by the second week around next Wednesday, I'm telling you guys, by next Wednesday, we will not be seeing a high temperature of 7 degrees, but rather probably upper 70s to even lower and maybe even middle 80s. You wait and see by that time frame, because none of the models are sticking with an actual cold solution. And usually when they enter into these phases where they just continue to promote warmth and they try to promote some cold and it ends up going back to warm, it always ends up being a very above average time period. It's hard to break down this southeast ridge, and it's going to continue to come back because of our La Nina-like conditions. Right now, here is the rain over the next week. A lot of this associated with the remnants of Nate, but you can tell it does put that feeder band that I talked about mostly to our south and east. This is where I think it's going to occur. You notice that the NAM3KM model was putting it into portions where I'm circling right here. And that is not what I think is going to happen. I think there will be enough forcing of that cold front to push that eastward, and it is going to converge mostly over here. You can tell the heaviest rain is going to remain off to our south and east with 5+ inch amounts due to the center of Nate moving through those areas. So that's all we have for this week. Continued warmth and continued hot weather and dry weather. So make sure that you enjoy the rain that we are getting now, because by the time we get towards the middle and end of this week, we're going to enter back into that very laid-back pattern that we've been seeing a lot of times over the last few falls, over the last couple of years. It's going to continue, and I do not see any cool weather coming in over the next couple of weeks.